Hey guys, here at Ultimate Reloader, you've seen FW Arms gear put to the test. In this video, we're going to meet the company's owner, Will Aerni, and learn how FW Arms came to be and how they've engineered their solutions to solve problems you're going to run into in these extreme reloading scenarios. Gavin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. Again, here on the channel, you've seen us take on our most advantageous reloading process yet, the processing of 45,000 plus 223 cases. That's right, that's an entire 55-gallon drum. We got 223! Now, to make this happen, we deployed some equipment and componentry from FW Arms. FW Arms is really all about solving real-world reloading problems when you push things to the max. And I've got Will Aerni here. Thank you, Will, for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Will's going to help us understand a little bit more about how his company came about, how they engineer products, how they talk to the community, and what it takes to design, manufacture, and support these products. So, Will, you know, I really admire your philosophy, which is take on difficult reloading problems, do some crazy, insane projects, look for the weak spots, and then basically backfill those weak spots with robust solutions and products. Is that a fair way to kind of talk about what you do?
Yeah, you forgot a big part of failure. There was a lot of failure to start out with. So we had the community, the reloading community, really help out with that, and being able to take constructive criticism without being nasty to your customers. That was a big part of how the product became as good and robust as it is.
So in terms of this starting, were you doing bulk reloading and bulk processing to start before you started designing some of these products?
I thought I was going to just become this giant reloader. I got a 1050 back in 2017 or something like that, and I threw a Mark 7 auto drive on it. That's what was available at the time, and I found out that it wasn't as easy as they made it look.
Right.
So we came up with some ideas of what we needed to add to maybe help make it a little smoother, and it just kind of blew up from there.
Okay, so take me through the process. Let's take like one of your decapping dies, for instance, which is one of the things that you guys have been known for. What does that process look like? You're sitting there at the press, maybe you're breaking a bunch of decapping pins or whatever it is that sort of precipitates that thought or that process. Take me from there to a finished product, or at least a prototype that you're running and testing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So going along, and we see wobble was the problem with rifle brass. All right, wobble. It's, your plate stops, case is still moving around. Pin ends up on the outside of the outside of the neck of the case. And looking around, I tried a whole bunch of different types of decappers, and you see decappers that they say they are the strongest decapper out there. I'm like, well, I don't need a stronger decapper. That's actually not solving the problem. So I came up with this concept of just adding basically a little conical shuttle on the end, and that seemed to solve the vast majority of my problems in the prototype. It solved the wobble for sure. And then we decided to go through a couple different versions of our tip and how that would interface with the die, and kind of came across one that we liked and started running that. And at some point I decided, like, well, I can't be the only one having this problem. Looked it up just did some looking up, and I was astonished that nobody had considered this concept for a decapping die ever.
Yeah.
So just kind of went with it, and took a gamble, rolled the dice, however you want to call it, and here we are today. So we took the decapping die, we applied the same concept to the hold down foot for assuaging, and then we figured out that we could do the whole holding down over the priming section of your press as well. And it just kind of went from there. It just kind of, people liked it. Got it in the hands of people, and they liked it.
Yeah, we found out about FW through Mark 7.
Yeah.
John Vlieger was up here. We were doing an Apex 10 overview, and he's
I watched
just
that
saying,
video.
yeah, we got to get you some FW dies on this rig. Let's go back to your design process, though, real quick. When you've got the idea in your head, does it start with a napkin sketch? Do you go to CAD? Do you enlist the help of an engineer or someone else to do the machining? How did you come up with this prototype?
So I have no patience. So this is going to sound so bad. I generally don't make sketches of stuff. I went out to the lathe and said, screw this. I'm just going to make this thing real quick. I know what needs to be done. I had some 7/8 14 threaded rod out there, punched a hole in it, made a shuttle out of brass real quick. I knew what that needed to look like. Made a pin real quick out of some 1/4 threaded rod, just put a pin tip on the end. So everything was soft, nothing was hard steel, nothing, just like, let's see if this works. And we'll roll with it as long as we can. And well, 45 minutes later, I had a working prototype, and the longest part was drilling a dumb hole that was 5/8 in diameter and through 4 inches of threaded rod. So
Right.
I don't have through coolant on my engine lathe. I just can't stand the mess, so it was just cranking the tailstock in and out and putting a little oil on there just so things don't burn up. That was the biggest pain in the butt right there. But no, after that, then the refinement of the product comes. My partner, Frank, he's my dad actually, a family business, so to speak. He threw it into CAD then and just kind of was starting to mess with it. But then I took the concept, I put it in Gibbs Cam, and that's where I actually do my solids. And we had the design through there, and we came up with our first version. And after, I think about 18 months, we revised it to include the popper. So it actually shake the primer off the end of the tip so you didn't get primer pullback.
I like that. That is a super good feature. Yeah. And we put all this to the test. By the way, very interesting process. I do that about half the time, where I've got a design in my head and I just go out to the lathe or the mill and just hammer it out.
Yeah.
I'm designing a new product right now, and I'm starting in CAD. In fact, I'm starting in an assembly. So I'm building multiple pieces kind of in place, all as a part of this what would be an assembly of something new. So fun nonetheless, either way. And with the hold down, with the decapping die, we really did put it to the test. And I remember in that project I mentioned, 45,223 cases.
Oh yeah.
You sent us a whole bag of replacement decapping tips, and through 45,000, we had exactly zero break.
Zero. No,
Phenomenal.
It works.
Yeah, I mean, it's a true testament to seeing a problem, solving the problem, and then that's what you need if you're in this bulk business, whether it be processing or loading, is you need bulletproof solutions.
Yeah. So we have guys using Camdex processors. They've gotten up to 750,000 cases, and that's military crimped stuff. So that's that's some
no joke.
Pretty gnarly stuff. So they got a lot of Lake City in there, and they see the nastiest of nasty stuff. So and that's one thing that you don't really see the nitty gritty in the background of processing. You get the garbage brass. Like you have to do the work to actually filter out all the stuff inside the cases. So when you go and buy pre-processed brass, you buy levels of it. You just want brass from the drum. Here you go. You got to deal with all the problems. So there are a lot of processors out there. They'll find the Berdans for you. They'll find the cases that have projectiles in there for you. You can buy it all decapped. Decapping is probably one of the most awful processes of the actual reloading process. It's the dirtiest, and that's the one that you run into the most amount of problems with.
Right. Which makes sense that you would kind of start there with FW, right? Yeah. Okay, so here's a question for you. If someone wants to get into this bulk processing game, maybe they want to get their feet wet with an auto-driven 1050 or Apex 10 or whatever. What would be what would be your biggest thing for them to know? What's your one piece of advice for those people?
Don't set your expectations too high, and go slow to start.
Yeah.
Don't think that you're going to buy 3 drums of brass and blast through them in 3 days. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
One thing that I think a lot of guys underestimate is markets and what the price of brass is actually going for. I mean, you can go to your range and pick up brass and think you're going to sell it. And there are other processors out there that, they're buying, 20 drums of this stuff at one time. So just manage your expectations. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't go and spend $15,000 on equipment just to make a few $100 a week. That's not the way to do it. So really manage your expectations so you don't get yourself in some trouble.
Yeah, I think that was a really helpful thing for us to be able to go through one drum and to just come back as a team and say, what was our actual throughput? Because your actual throughput is proportional to your potential profits, right?
Yep,
that and the other
absolutely.
variables of what the brass is going for and kind of all that. Can one operator run 2 machines, right? That would be the scaling model I'd be looking like, just like with CNC machining. The guy goes to one machine, tightens down a block of aluminum, hits go. Then the next one's finishing and kind of round robin, So it's an interesting problem domain, and I think there's great opportunities, especially if you're going to do something unique, like the boutique ammunition loading.
Oh yeah.
Go to a PRS match, everybody's shooting 25 by 47 now. All right, well, let's figure out how to make 25 by 47. Let's work up a load and then offer that in batches or something. One small example of a business venture: write your business plan, figure out realistic expectations about what you can do by talking to people that actually do it, and then proceed carefully.
No, that's actually, there's been a lot of collaboration and just kind of bouncing ideas back and forth between myself and, some other people that are kind of venturing into, not actually reloading, but making stuff to support the reloading community, just bouncing ideas off of each other and, like, hey, I like this, maybe switch this up. And we're like, oh boy, I tried that. Don't do that. It didn't work out, and this is why. There's a lot of camaraderie in this field as long as you allow it. So if you're not the butthead, then there's a lot of room for there's enough business for everybody. That's
Absolutely.
one thing that you have to accept if you're in this business. Don't try to corner the market. Let your product speak for itself, and let yourself as a person, who is as the face of your company, make sure that's working for you and not against you.
Absolutely. Totally agree. And thank you for all the help that you gave us. I know the guys over at Mojo also helped, quite a bit. And
yeah, Anthony and Frank, good guys over there. They're doing some good stuff over there. So you can always find, even that obscure stuff. They have racks of just different calibers that you didn't even knew existed.
Yep. And we still got 90,000 9mm cases in another 55-gallon drum. That's going to be the part 2 of this major adventure.
Well,
so
good luck with that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, before we conclude, I noticed at the SHOT Show this year that there were some familiar-looking dies in the Dillon booth. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So a couple months ago, obviously before SHOT, there was some conversations between FW and Dillon, and the Dillon saw that that would fit their product line, and we said, hey, that works for us too, and here we are. I think Dillon's going to do a great job with it. The people that I was talking to over there, they seem to have a real passion for moving forward and not just kind of letting things be status quo, but wanting to really, they're hungry over there.
Yep.
So they want to get some new stuff out.
Those new products have moved to Dillon from FW, so FW is not going to be offering those anymore separately. Is that correct?
That's there. So anything with a shuttle. So any of the support parts for what used to be our decapper dies, you can see it in the background here.
Yep.
Those are Dillon. Those are blue now. I think they're going to do good with them, and I wish them the best of luck. And And I think people like it. They'll be able to scale a lot better than we could. They already have an established clientele, and so I think it's a good match for everybody. And it was a positive move for us. So now we're kind of on to other things now.
Well, congratulations, and I think the whole Dillon transition is great. Just for one reason, because they have world-class customer support.
Oh yeah,
and that's already built into kind of everything that they do. So anyhow. Will, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. It's always helpful for people to be able to kind of see behind the scenes a little bit. You know, I have access to you and a lot of other people in the industry, but my viewers don't typically get those insights. So this has been really interesting, and I just appreciate you joining us here.
Well, I appreciate you having me on and giving me the chance to reach out and connect with people.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll talk to you again here soon. And again, just appreciate what you do.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Okay. If you have feedback for Will and insights about FW arms or bulk reloading, bulk processing, drop a comment and we'll join you down there in the comments section. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching Ultimate Reloader on TV and want to take advantage of free resources, exclusives, and hot deals, just hold your camera phone up to the QR code, tap on the link, fill out the information, boom, you're getting Ultimate Reloader emails. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.